clean, boy, or I shall clean it myself.
Rockstar Games, champions of the epic free roaming adventure, are taking us back to school with their latest PS2 offering. As publishers of the Grand Theft Auto series, they're no strangers to controversy, which is good, because Canis Carnum Edit, or Dog Eat Dog for Latin dropouts, has already ruffled feathers with its contentious theme. You play the part of Jimmy Hopkins, a 15-year-old tearaway who's packed off to boarding school by his mother and new stepfather.
Welcome to Bullworth Academy.
There's a number of opposing cliques at work here. Bullies, who compensate their low IQs with sadistic violence.
This is what we do to teachers' pets around here.
You better not. Ow! Come here, you.
Yeah.
The preppy kids who are so up themselves it must hurt. The steroid pump physically dominant jocks. The rebel without a clue greasers. And the nerds who get picked on by everyone. Jimmy soon realises he can use his talent for bashing people to raise some cash.
I'll pay you $2.
$2? Are you crazy? Make it 5.
He's not without his morals, though, and tends to only bring pain upon those who deserve it.
Whoa!
Without GTA's arsenal of automatic weapons, combat tends towards hand-to-hand brawling, coming across much like Rockstar's remake of The Warriors, with similar grappling moves and throws. You can freely choose from the missions and activities, but you'll also be expected to attend some classes. These are presented as mini-games that boost your abilities when passed.
Excellent work today, Mr. Hopkins.
The environment here is big, but not on the huge scale of San Andreas, even though you can explore beyond the school's gates. There's plenty to do, and you certainly won't feel restricted. As usual, Rockstar have proved themselves masters of creating believable characters and putting them in entertaining situations. Voice acting is spot on, with some hilarious dialogue.
But nothing dulls the pain like scotch.
Compared to GTA, Canis Carnum Edit is pretty tame, so the storm surrounding it is totally unfounded, but will doubtless do its sales no harm. Prepared to be taken back to the happiest days of your life. We'll give it 4 out of 5.
You know it's funny.
They were getting ready for a serious fight up here. So is that it? Are we done? That doesn't sound good!
It's a somber day for the PlayStation 2 when we get round to reviewing what is almost certainly the final Medal of Honor game for Sony's classic console. But it's time. If one thing is clear from the aging textures, the shouting and the backdrop of whining bullets, it's that this series has become a very well-worn groove indeed.
What are you talking about? They're retreating. There's no one out there. Ugh.
Maybe it's fitting that the final PS2 installment should feature the very meat and potatoes of medal gameplay. No vehicles, no fancy exotic settings, just a machine gun, a sharpshooting rifle, enemy tanks, and lots and lots and lots of charges to blow. The 82nd Airborne Division are the stars this time round, and as a result you really get to appreciate what a painful cliche parachuting out of an exploding plane has become. If we get one, we get 5. This might all be sounding pretty negative, but after an hour's play you notice something. You're gripped. Again. The same tried and tested moves, fights and traps managed to thrill one last time. That said, Medal of Honor Vanguard is noticeably short. Only 4 campaigns and veterans will play through in 2 days if they have sufficient grit. It might have been nice if EA had put this out as a budget title, but they didn't. A special mention must go to the final campaign though, a ludicrously intense 2-part extended battle that sees you parachuting directly into German towers, sneaking up on an entire factory of snipers, and much more. It all ends with a battle so loud that the final silence is actually haunting. It's all over. You won. 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I've never seen anything more beautiful either.
Test Drive Unlimited has already driven its way onto the Xbox 360 last year. And because of its success, it's wheel spinning its way onto the PSP and PS2. We enlisted the help of a slick boy racer to take us through some of the game's features.
Hi, my name's Lee Curtin. I'm the head of PR for Atari. I'm going to be taking you through Test Drive Unlimited on PlayStation 2, which is a totally new game developed by a different developer, Melbourne House. We've recently released a 360 version, and as I've said before, it's a completely new version, so I'd like to take you through. The game is fantastic for PlayStation 2. The car detail is pretty phenomenal. Some of the things that we were praised for on the 360 launch of Test Drive was actually the detail of the vehicles and how much detail had actually gone into them. For a PlayStation 2 title, I can certainly say that we have the most detailed cars that you've probably seen. We also have functional doors and windows and radio stations as well. The bottom left of the screen, you'll see that there's a sat-nav. How that works is you'll see, just like a normal sat-nav, the bottom left there's a route plotted out and we're following the blue line. Now, if we were to go off course, the sat-nav would actually respond to that and replot your course, just like a normal satellite navigation would work. And how that works is because of the satellite mapping, and that the whole entire map is taken from the real satellite photos, every single route has been plotted within this device in the bottom left-hand corner. As with the 360 release, this is an online game, so the amount of online players on PlayStation 2 is obviously not to the degree of 360, but this works in exactly the same way as a 360 version. So at any particular time after we got involved in these tutorial bits and pieces, we'll then be able to see live players driving around the island with their cars. And the idea of that is they're also trying to take over the island as much as you are with their properties and their collection of cars. And at the same time, you can get involved by racing them. The idea is trying to make the game as realistic as possible in terms of the island being packed full of manufacturers and real estates and houses and things that you would see in real life. So it's not just a driving game, it's more of a kind of driving RPG where you're involved in everything. So just to give you a view on this, we have a number of different properties here, and it actually gives you an idea of where they are on the island and how they look. It also shows you how many cars you can actually store in these apartments. We have 120,000 credit, so we can only buy this property at this particular time. So from your properties, you can actually check out news, where you are, who's trying to contact you, which clubs are open for you to join, and whether or not there are any car manufacturers that you might be interested in. So we're getting involved in another race here to earn some more money. The direction we wanted to go with this was to certainly make it a more accessible game to everybody. PlayStation 2 is not a write-off in terms of a console. There is over 10 million units in households, and the games that are being developed for them at this time are certainly pretty amazing.
Pull over immediately! Dispatch, 1F, not close to.
Well, that was a test drive for PlayStation 2. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen. The game is released in February, and stay tuned and you'll see more soon.
To become the ultimate
If you reckon that a video game can't elevate itself to the lofty heights of art, take a look at Okami and prepare yourself for a rethink. This strikingly cel-shaded action RPG has been a long time coming, but it's finally arrived with enough style and innovation to make it one of the finest moments in the PS2's long and illustrious history. In Okami, you play the part of Amaterasu, a Shinto sun god that has returned to Earth in the form of a white wolf. Gods tend not to visit our mortal level unless something needs fixing. The land of Nippon is in the grip of an ancient curse that's making it a really drab and unpleasant place to be. So, with the help of your tiny travelling companion Isun and a range of godly artistic powers, you must bring nature back to its happy, colourful self. Your main weapon for righting this wrongness is a handy tool known as the Celestial Brush. This brush allows Ami an ingenious way to interact with the environment and also brings a very original gameplay mechanic to the adventure. While exploring or during a battle, pressing the R1 button drops a canvas over the environment, which you can then add brush strokes to using the square button and left analog stick. When your artwork peels away, you'll see how the marks you've made have affected Ami's surroundings. It's a versatile trick too. As you progress through the game, you'll add a range of useful brush techniques to your repertoire, from conjuring up a flashing blade strike or a magical bomb, to floating lily pads and elastic vines. Nippon itself is presented as a magically moving piece of antique Japanese watercolour. And while the legend unfolds with a suitably serious tone, the characters you'll find add plenty of light-hearted humour. Everyone speaks in a sort of unintelligible babble, backed by subtitles, which is quite reminiscent of a Zelda adventure. It's Zelda-like in other areas too. The pace of the gameplay and the sort of puzzles you'll encounter are similar, but Okami still manages to remain unique and never feels like it's stealing from Link's familiar style. We'll give Okami 5 out of 5.
Such a sexy man. Just my type.
I'm not that kind of guy.
Capcom have a great rep when it comes to fighting games. This is the company that brought us the Street Fighter series after all. So when a new beat-em-up bearing their logo enters the ring, fight fans twitch with excitement. God Hand is their latest single-player PS2 offering, and it's, well, different. The plot, presented in a bizarre anime come Wild West fantasy style, follows the exploits of a bloke called Gene. One day, Gene finds a damsel in distress and, being the chivalrous type, dashes to her rescue.
Scram, sweetheart.
Only to get his right arm brutally hacked off. Conveniently, Olivia, the lady he saved, was looking after the God's Hand, an arm blessed with divine fighting powers. She donates the Holy Hand to Gene, and they set out to tackle the demonic gangs wreaking havoc in the area. These devils are also after Gene's special limb for their own evil purposes, so our hero had better watch his back and hand. You'll begin with a standard set of brawling moves. Punches are triggered by the square button, while the triangle and X buttons deal with kicks. Once an enemy has been stunned by a sustained combination of hits, you'll hear the familiar birds tweeting, and then can unleash special attacks by hammering the circle button. This sends Jean into violence overdrive, pummeling them with blows at a comically fast rate. The extra powerful one-shot roulette attacks send the action slow-mo, giving you time to make your selection. Some roulette techniques are explosive. Others are more slapstick. When Jean feels his tension meter, he can unleash the God Hand itself. While his fist glowing, he becomes invulnerable, and the pace of his attacks gets even quicker. You can earn new moves and customise your combos, but it's traditional button-mashing gameplay all the way. This is the work of Capcom's soon-to-be disbanded Clover Studio, and you'd assume that, with their pedigree, it would be a polished and sophisticated affair. But strangely, God Hand is a blatantly low-budget effort. It almost looks unfinished. Maybe Capcom pulled the plug on them a little too soon. It's an odd one, this, but pretty good fun, if you can handle the cheesy humour. We'll give it 3 out of 5. We can't blame you for thinking that after 11 sequels and at least as many spin-offs, a series might start to get a bit tired and stale. But when you're talking about a franchise that's become a worldwide phenomenon and has consistently set the benchmark for other RPGs to aspire to, different rules apply. So after a long and torturous wait, Square Enix's Final Fantasy has at last graced these shores with its 12th instalment, and while the waiting was painful, now it's paid off with interest. In a traditionally epic and engaging storyline, you follow the adventures of a teenage orphan named Vaughn who dreams of leaving the streets to become a sky pirate.
One of these days, I'll fly an airship of my own. I'll be a sky pirate, free to go where I will.
Following the murder of their noble king, Vaughn's home, the Kingdom of Dalmasca, has been forcefully taken by the all-conquering Arcadian Empire.
Your Majesty.
Vaughn's the patriotic type and therefore hates these Imperial invaders, whom he also blames for the death of his brother. So he embarks on a mission to return the throne of Dalmasca to its rightful owners. Along the way, he's joined by other playable characters, including a slick sky pirate and his rabbit-like sidekick, a princess leading the resistance movement, who's the sole heir to the kingdom, and a heroic Dalmascan knight who's fallen from grace in a big way.
Please, get me out.
There have been a wide range of positive changes to the gameplay this time round. The battle system no longer sends you into a special combat environment whenever you encounter enemies. Now all fighting takes place in the same fully 3D worlds that you explore. This makes for a much smoother and more enjoyable experience. Then there's the Gambit system. This allows you to program each character to perform certain commands in battle automatically when specified conditions are met, chucking an ally a healing potion when they're on their last legs, for example. Every aspect of this game's presentation is immaculate, from the stunning CG cutscenes to the well-modelled in-game characters and lively environments. Audio keeps standards high too, with great voice acting and a superb score. In fact, nothing here disappoints.
The fortress is lost! We must withdraw!
No! The paling still stands.
While it remains true that this series is a bit like yeast-extracted spread, you either love it or you hate it, Final Fantasy XII provides undeniable proof that if quality control is maintained and gameplay continues to innovate, then the Enlightened will happily play on and hunger for more, even after hundreds of sequels. We'll give it 5 out of 5.
According to ancient belief, when dark times beset mankind, the great protector